Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new to my channel is all about loving my makeup collection as it currently is, being critical of new makeup releases, and also being considerate when we do decide to bring something into our collection, making good decisions or trying our best to make the best decision that we can. Today I'm actually following up on something that someone left in my comments on one of my videos on an older video. They were asking me particularly about the Hindash BEAUTOPSY palette, which I've had for quite some time, I think over a year. They were wondering like my thoughts on it. I mean, I've had it for quite some time and they wanted to see me do a full face. Obviously I can't do my full face with this palette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like foundation and some other things. I'll show you the application process on camera, but like I'm gonna zoom through it. It's not gonna be like something that we're spending a lot of time on. And then we're gonna really make this the star of the show. So I'm gonna do as much of my face with this product that I can so you can see it's performing and just kind of talk about my experience, how I like to use it while I continue doing my makeup while using it. So I'm gonna go do that. But if you are new here and you haven't subscribed already, I would love to have you join my channel. Make sure you like this video before you leave. And I'm on Patreon if you would like to support me there. Okay, let me get some complexion going. I'm just gonna enjoy my little time here. I finished all of my complexion and now I'm going to bring in the Hindash palette to further my look. So if you're not familiar with the BEAUTOPSY, this was the original palette release from Hindash. Just like the Monochromance, if you have somehow encountered that before, it is a gradient palette. And so up here we have like kind of like really light neutral shades. You could use these as setting powders. That's like not my journey when it comes to these. And I have other palettes that are like that where like they have white and banana setting powders, but that's not really what I use to set my face, so I don't use them as such, but they are there for you in case you would want to use them as such. Then we have like this pink, this like neutral pink going to like more of like a baby pink over there, this brown that turns into like a gray, this red that turns into an orange, and then this deep ruddy color. It's like a very deep red that turns almost into a black. And so that is what you are given. So the beauty of this palette is that you can kind of tap into whatever you want, make whatever shades you want. So if you are new here, I really like to contour my face with a cooler contour. So that's what I'm gonna do first. I'm gonna utilize this gray, but I'm gonna tap it into the white as well because this gray will show up too much if I do that. Another thing to know about this palette is something that is impressive to a lot of people, but actually is like not something that I actually truly enjoy. And it's not like actually a negative, it's like more of a preference thing. These shadows are extremely hard pressed. Like they are pressed. They are panini pressed into this palette. So there is like kind of virtually no kick up. And at first it feels like you're not getting any pigment, but rest assured you are. This is one of those palettes that when you start playing with it, it's one of those things where you're gonna have to like layer and figure out how to play with it. It's not like a difficulty thing, but there's obviously a learning curve when you're looking at something like this to like be like, how do I use this? And for sure, there is a learning curve. This shirt has a bit of a corset to it and my back already hurts and I have not been wearing it that long. So what I'm gonna do is tap this angled brush into the real side of this brown gray shade. I'm gonna tap it also into the white. I'm just gonna do some back and forth. I'm gonna kick off any excess. I probably don't have any considering the nature of this palette. And then I'm just gonna stipple that onto my cheek. So there I have the contour shade that I created and then no contour on this side. So when you look at it, it's almost like at first it's like you don't see anything, but it does build up. Now I'm gonna leave the contouring there and I'm just gonna do the same thing to the other side. And just for the sake of doing it, I'll also do a little on my forehead. And I like to contour through my facial hair just a little bit to add a little more definition. It's a little interesting as a non-binary being. Sometimes I like to have like the masculine jawline with my look, although I don't have, well, when I'm thinner, I have a pretty masculine jawline, but I kind of just really contour a lot more than someone who probably doesn't have facial hair would in this section of their face. So now the face is lightly sculpted, and we did that all with the Hindash palette. So now we also will bronze with this palette. I'm gonna grab something a little bit fluffier. I'm actually gonna tap into the brown side of that gray shade, and then I'm gonna tap into this just a little. This doesn't matter as much as this one. I was trying to keep it in the white, but now I'm gonna bronze. I'm just like, that's what I'm gonna use to bronze my face. Bronzed, no bronze. I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So now we're sculpted a little bit, and I am also going to use this for my blush. Now, when it comes to blush, you're a little bit limited as what you can do. So you can definitely do something pink base, red base, orange base. This little bit neutral. You can make them lighter by going up into the lighter shades or deeper. This was really just kind of an exploration of color theory. And I know that some people that sounds extremely scary to you, but it's not like you can't use this without it. It's kind of really fun to play around with. I'm not the best at color theory, like I understand it, but much like music theory, my application of it is like not as good, right? I'm gonna try to take this bronzer just a little bit down my face. So what I think I'm gonna do, because we're not going to do like a really complex eye look either, because that's not what this inspires. Now, what I do love to do with this is companion piece it really, where I just like use this in addition with like my Cliona multi-chromes or any kind of single sparkly eyeshadow. This is definitely like a really great way to do like transition and crease if you are someone who likes to do that with a matte shade. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap into this side of the pink, this side of the orange, and then a little bit of the brown. Let's see what we did here. A cute little blush shade. I don't know what I would call that blush shade, but it is pretty. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other cheek. Now, what did I do? Just some pouncing, more in the reds and the pink, but. You've seen how you can use this on the face, because I think a lot of people kind of just think about this kind of exclusively to be something you can use on the eyes. And I know that that's like obviously not what Hindash is selling this as, but I do think when these got released, at least when this one got released, I remember the conversation around it being everyone was just kind of like generally confused about what to do with it. I think that a lot of makeup artists or people who lean into makeup artistry, especially the kind of people who apply on other people, you really see the versatility of this. But whenever you're like thinking about something for yourself, you're like, how I would use that one way, right? Because it's like you're not being forced to like challenge yourself to do it another way, you know? But like we were able to sculpt bronze and do some blush, and I think we have something really, really beautiful going here. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna brighten my under eyes just a little bit, and I'm going to go into the wet side of wet paint, and I'm just gonna tap that a little bit under my eyes. This is a beautiful face. I'm gonna throw on some highlighter. I do prefer a shiny highlighter, so this can't achieve that for me, but there are people who like a matte highlighter. So if you just wanted to use one of those lighter shades to brighten your cheek, you could absolutely do that. But let me think about what I want to use. Since we are a little bit more subtle, I'm just gonna use this old Pat McGrath highlighter. Now I'm gonna work on my eyes. I'm gonna use the Atelier eyeshadow primer. So I mentioned this many times on my channel before, but if you are new here, I like to set my eyeshadow base. Not everyone does that. I like to do that. What I have found is that this shade also works really well as just an eyeshadow base for me. Gives you a little bit of pigmentation, but not like a ton, but it's just like really setting that powder. And something that actually I never really like noticed myself, but I was watching Khaki, if you're not familiar with Khaki Reviews Beauty. And she mentioned like the blurring application, like the blurring that this does. And after she said that, and I was like, oh, it certainly does that. You kind of could do a couple of things. You could definitely go fiery red, but I think like with the simplicity of what I'm doing, I think I'm just going to keep it simple. So I'm going to use like tan lines as my transition. I'm going to do a little bit in the outer corner with Feel Real. And maybe I'll press some of this in as like a liner that's certainly something we can do. What is in my hair? It's gonna be really simple. I'm not gonna do anything too crazy because for once in my life, I'm trying to make, this is not gonna be common on my channel, but a little bit more short form. Now, the interesting with the tan shade and tan lines is that like, at first, it feels like you're not really putting anything on the skin. I mean, that's assuming you have a light skin tone like me. And then you kind of like build it up a little and then you start seeing it. Ooh, and she's just very pretty. Yeah, not much to it, but that's okay, especially when you're thinking of transition shades. So what beautiful thing about this is that if you happen to be a working makeup artist and you are using this palette, you can definitely create a transition shade for a deeper client by tapping here and here, you know, really just kind of customizing the experience of the palette to whatever client you're using. Or if you are someone who watches my channel who has a deeper complexion, you could easily do that. I'm blessed enough that this shade works kind of really well as a transition shade for me, and I don't really need to like fuss around with it too much. And so that's where I'm gonna leave it. Again, it doesn't look like I have much going on, and I really don't yet. So we're gonna add a little bit more dimension. I'm kind of just using the straight colors here, but like if I wanted to do like a more ruddy red, I could do tap here to do that as my transition. I might do pink on the lid, but I haven't really decided. So I think I'm just gonna stick with just the general feel, the feel shade. That's the name of the shade. I still want to deepen out this outer corner even more. However, I do feel as though the black is just maybe a little bit deeper than I want to go. So I'm going to tap into the black and the gray and just like kind of go back and forth a couple times. Tap that off. And just keep that focus on the outer corner here. I want to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to do a few more taps in the black and then tap into the gray. As you can see, I was really able to like manipulate and make something like a little bit lighter, like right. I didn't want to go too deep, but like if you wanted to, you just have to, you're kind of building up pigmentation, but it's not that this doesn't have pigment. The thing that I have found whenever I am using something either designed for makeup artists and not consumers, or things that are designed by working makeup artists, is that there's not always that idea of like high impact unless that's what that makeup artist is really well known for. And Hindash does these like really sculpted eyes, right? These very sculpted, they're just really sculpted looks, and then also does a lot of graphic liner, but those all kind of take some, not work, but take, if your eyeshadow would be too pigmented out the gate and hard to blend out, it would just make your job really hard if that's the kind of artistry that you are doing. And that's obviously the kind of artistry that Hindash is doing. And I do think that he creates his makeup to work as he would like it to work when he is working on people, because I assume that he just wants to use his own makeup when he's working on other people. So yeah, I think I'm gonna throw the boy shade on just all over my lid. And then, like I said I was gonna do earlier, I'm gonna take the darkest shade here and I'm gonna stamp it on my my lash line as a liner. That is basically how I would use it. I'm gonna finish up my face and then we'll just like talk about my final thoughts. Not my final thoughts, but just like talk a little bit more about the palette and who I think it's good for. I'm gonna zoom you in so you can see my skin. Obviously, this is more to focus on like my eyes and then my cheek, less the highlight. But you can see how just like beautifully soft and simple this really was. Who do I think this palette is for? Well, I think if it's a very nice one and done palette. If you're willing to like mix the colors and do all the things to like do a full face like I just did, beautiful, easy palette, especially if you're someone who prefers a more simple look. Obviously, monochromance has a little bit more color to it. Obviously, it's like a little bit different than what I have here in my hands, but it is like, it's just a very nice, just like palette to have and play around with. And I also recommend it to people who maybe have really, really large, single, beautiful eyeshadows that you really want to be the star of the show, but sometimes you need just like a little bit of something to do on the edges to like really complete out the look. Because I really like that. That's like kind of my vibe with an eye look, is like I really like neutrals on the outside and then like a really beautiful shimmer that is unparalleled on the lids. Like that is, if I'm going out somewhere, that's like the way I'm gonna do my makeup, right? It's not gonna be all green, all, you know, that's just like not what I fall towards. It's fun to play around with. It's definitely that it's not that I don't do looks like that, but I think if you are like somebody who likes to keep it neutral, except like doing a really vibrant thing on your lid with your singles collection, I think this is like a really good companion piece. Or anyone who just like wants to explore around and hasn't before, like playing with like dipping into this and that. I have videos that are going to come out soon where my friend Sarah did my makeup. She's a professional makeup artist here in Pittsburgh, and you'll see her. She does a lot of mixing into different powders, into different creams. And so this is like a really, really nice, and I would say very simple way to start exploring that, especially starting to get your mind to think that way. So if that's something that you were looking to explore, I think you would really, really like this. Who it's not for, people who love a high impact immediately sort of thing, I don't think that you would enjoy this or get on with this. You would have to go quite heavy handed with this. But maybe I have mentioned, well, I mentioned to Sarah that I'm lighter handed on my eyeshadow. I'm much more heavy handed on my complexion, which is something that I'm trying to be better about because sometimes I do go overboard with my complexion. So reining it in, this has helped because it's just like not wow, bam, thank you, ma'am pigmentation. So it provides itself to just kind of a very simple ease of use. Unfortunately, I do think this would be really good for beginners, especially people who are struggling with blending. These really lend themselves to blending in with one another. It's really easy. It's really easy to use. It's just like a very easy thing to do with this palette. I think the same thing about Viseart, where they have like just the right amount of pigmentation, but if you really want to do something bold, you have to build them up a little bit. But to me, it's like not always about being bold. Like while I do really like bold looks, something like this just really satisfies that itch, right? I could take this on vacation with me and just like this would be enough, right? Maybe like a couple things to throw on the lid, but like honestly, this could be the palette that I take with me on vacation, right? So I just think there is people for it. I just don't know that's everyone like here on the scene, and like a lot of my followers and subscribers, I know that you guys are like really into like big, bold, shiny looks. So I don't know that this is going to be for you. I think these are going to be for my subscribers or the people who watch this video that are just very into something just very easy to use, even though it looks a little complicated based on the layout of it. There's beautiful simplicity to it. And I would also say like, when you get it in your hands, it makes a little more sense than like seeing it digitally, because when I bought this, I thought there is no way that this gradient is going to look as good as it does online. And the gradient is like really perfect. Like you can also play with just like going down a gradient too, right? If you really like just only a little bit of lightness, just playing with the gradient in that top one. Or like if you want to go something really deep, you do something really smoky with the bottom one. There's a lot to play with. I just think it's really fun and exciting to see something like this be on the market. It just makes you look at makeup a little bit differently. Whereas other color stories or other things that aren't like this Beautopsy setup or like the monochromance setup, they are selling you like a look, right? They're selling you a specific thing. Whereas this one's like, no, take the look where you want it to go. It's a little more versatile. Obviously you can only use the shades that are in here though, right? Like there's no green. But the future iterations, and monochromance I still have my eye on, and I still think I very much want because I like this so much. But this actually took me quite some time to love too. And I'm going to be fully honest with you. The first couple times I used it, I was just like, I don't think I really understand this. And I didn't at first, but like playing with it for some time and having it for a year is definitely something that I think about reaching for a lot, especially when I just want to keep it simple. So whoever asked that question, and I don't remember who you are, whoever asked me to do a video like revisiting this and doing my full face with it, I hope you got whatever you wanted out of it, or if you were just someone who clicked on this just because you were interested in seeing Beautopsy, you know, come back to life after a year or more being out on the market, because, you know, sometimes we just don't see things pop back up. I just want to say to you here and now, the Beautopsy palette is something that I plan on keeping in my collection for a very long time. So know all of that. Well, if you were new here and you learned something and you haven't subscribed already, I would love to have you subscribe. If you are returning, thank you so much. And I would like both new people and old people to just hit that like button. It really helps me out in the algorithm. And I'm also on Patreon if you would like to support me there. I appreciate you all so much for watching. And remember to follow your haute, and you will find me. I will see you in my next video. Bye. For